Good morning. We're learning as a schutz for Shlema Filana Chaya Basarach. We're on Daf Pei Amid Beis, and we're continuing with the discussion that we've been having from the previous blot, where we brought a brisa that said the case of a tzluchas from a mishnah. It said you had a tzluchas with water of meichatas that got mixed into it, some plain water, that Rebbe Eliezer says you should do two hazois, and the Chum say there's nothing you can do about it. It's not going to work. So we said the explanation for the Chacham and why they say it doesn't work. They hold yesh bila, it's mixed throughout. And they hold it's not mitzdaref, the two hazoyas, and therefore there's no way to get the shear of the hazah, the necessary shear of the hazah. The Gemara has a problem. What's the explanation of Rebbe Eliezer? So the last explanation we gave was Reb Ashi's. Reb Ashi, uniquely amongst these shittas, amongst the explanations, says that he holds that Rebbe Eliezer holds ein bila, that the water is not evenly, consistently distributed. Two liquids don't consistently mix. It means you could have a clump of one thing together with a clump of another. But if you do, we're talking about where there's only a minimal amount of water that got mixed in. So if you do two hazayis, you'll know the water that got mixed in was in one of the two, but the other one of the two hazayis wasn't a good hazah to be mitah the person, but the other one was a good one because that one did not have. It can only be in one of the two hazahs. But the bottom line is, we see that in this shita, Rav Ashi is explaining that Rebbe Eliezer in this brisa is holding yesh, that ein bila. So we're in the middle of a series of questions. That's meaning ein bila, that liquids do not consistently mix. So we've been asking a series of questions on that proposition. So now we're up to Tashma. I think about 7 lines from the bottom. Is that what you have also, Rafal?
That's
You don't remember exactly. Okay.
Yeah, somewhere there, yeah.
Yeah. So Tashma, 7 lines from the bottom. Hanitin Vatana Achas. You ask a kasha from our Mishnah, right? Our Mishnah back at on Daf Ayin Tes. So it said, "Hanitin matana achas shenis'aru b'nitin matana achas." If you have a dam from a carbon that needs only one matana, which is Bechar and Maisa and Pesach, that was nis'arav with another carbon that has the same requirement of only one matana. You know, matana achas. All you have to do is do one nesinas dam. You got mixed up these two karbanos, your bechar with your meiser. How could you say you just do one matana? Maybe if you hold ein bila, the liquid doesn't get mixed in consistently. It's not throughout the whole mixture. So maybe what you're giving is a clump of just the bechar, and there's no meiser dominant. After the Gemara, achas ba'achas. We're talking about where you just had enough for one zrika of a bechar together with, for example, one zrika of a meiser. So, and you're doing two zrikas. When it says that you do matana achas, it doesn't mean a single zrika of one. It means two zrikas of one. It means you do matana achas for each one. And you only have enough for two zrikas. You only have two zrikas dam available in the kli. So you do two of them, and therefore you're certainly doing both zrikas. The Gemara continues to ask, Mat narba. What about the next part of the Mishnah where it said if you have something that needs 4 zrikas, for example, the oila, which needs shtayim shein arba, together with I guess an asham that is time shein arba. So Gemara, hachanami shenisavu arba b'arba. Again, we're talking about the same answer like we said before, where you had enough for, let's say, your shtaim sheim arba for your oila and shtaim sheim arba for your asham. So therefore, you do both of them. You do 2 times 2 zrikas of arba, and then you'll have gotten all the zrikas that you need. Now the Gemara asks, the Mishnah continues, man arba matan achas. What happened if you had something that needs 4 matanas, for example, an oila, together with something which needs only 1, let's say your bechar. According to Rebbe Eliezer, why aren't we concerned? He holds aim bila, that it doesn't mix together. So how do you know that if you do only? So we had that case in the Mishnah. We said it was a machlokes that Rebbe Eliezer and Rebbe Yeshua argued about. Rebbe Eliezer says you do 4 zrikas, and according to Rebbe Yeshua, you only do 1. Like we said, Rebbe Eliezer holds roya, that we can look at whatever's extra as being mayim, and Rebbe Yeshua disagrees with that, and they also disagree with about the question of whether you say it's better. Rebbe Eliezer says you're not allowed to be megareya, you can't do less than the proper amount for the oila, so you can't just do 1, even though 1 is b'di'evet enough. And Rebbe Yeshua says you can't do. He's worried about being meisif, baltaisif. You can't do more than the amount, and since you possibly could be doing the dam for the bechar, which only needs 1, so therefore you only do 1. So tomorrow, but maybe you're going to say you're talking about where you have the exact right amount. You have enough for 4 zrikas together with the enough for 1 more zrika. Then if that's the case, that you have your shtaim sheim achas for your oiladam, and you have exactly enough for that, together with your single bechar dam, and you have enough for that. Why would Rabbi Yeshua say, how is they baltaisif? You have the exact right amount of dam. It's not possible to have baltaisif. How could you have baltaisif? So this is a problem. Ela Amar Rava. So Rava says, we have to understand our Mishnah differently. All these questions from our Mishnah are dependent on the fact that we're talking about where you have dam mixed together. You got your dam of, let's say, achas ba'achas. You got two things of dam, 2 kaises of dam, that or 2 even, let's say, amounts to be zayrik dam that got mixed of 1 from, let's say, we had all sorts of different cases in the Mishnah, but let's say your bechar with your meiser. We're assuming that they both got mixed together in 1 cup, and therefore we're not sure when you zayrik it which one. So we answer that it's talking about with exactly the right amount, so you're for sure getting both of them. We're not talking about where the dam mixed together. Keep pligi with kaisis. We're talking about where you have separate kaisis of each one. So it's not a question of bila or ain bila. The only question of bila is when you have actual liquids mixed together. Do you say, how do they get distributed within that combination? But he's understanding the Mishnah. It's not talking about where you have blood physically mixed together. You just have your two cups of dam, but you don't remember which is associated with which carbon. So the Rebbe Elazar is right. So the reason why Rebbe Elazar says you can go ahead and do it is because he says even if you throw something that's not necessary, if you're throwing the wrong one, let's say the Laila Lamato, or you're throwing the wrong one, then we don't care, because anyway it's you can just treat the other one as water. The Rabbanan less Luhuray. The Rabbanan they don't hold of Ryan, and therefore they'll say, for example, in the case of where there's one supposed to be Lamaila and one supposed to be Lamata, so that's where the Chacham will say you can't do it, because maybe you'll be pouring the wrong one on top, and then you're going to have done it in the wrong place, and therefore the Chacham say you shouldn't do it. They don't know. So tomorrow, so therefore we've totally taken out our Mishnah from discussion of Yesh Bila and Bila by saying that the Mishnah is talking about Kaisis and not Bila. So tomorrow, Babalulai Pligi is our Mishnah that has the Machlekes Rebbe Elazar and the Chachamim about Hanit Lamayla Lamayla and Hanit Lamayla Lamata, that we said that they argue about it, whether you do it or not. Are you saying that that's only in the case of Kaisis and not in Baal? But Tanya, we have a different version of our Mishnah. Now, Amr Yehuda, Loi Nechel Kur Rebbe Elazar Chachamim Al Dam Chatash and Avadam Ma'ila Sheikarav. Both Rebbe Elazar and the Chacham agree that Dam Chatas that got mixed with Dam Oila, meaning Dam Chatas that's supposed to be brought Lamaila, they got mixed with Dam Oila that's supposed to be brought Lamata. They both agree that you could bring it. They both are going to say in that case Roya. And the Chacham are not going to disagree. By Ravev and Rebbe Shalayikov. And they're going to disagree, they're both going to agree that it was Dam of a Ravev and Neva, something that is possible to be brought on the mizbech. That certainly that you can't be makar. That even Rebbe Eliezer would say you treat that as water. We brought this sheet of Rebbe Yehuda of how he understands the machlekes. We had this before when we were talking about Avarim. Now we're saying this, that he has the same machlekes where Rebbe Eliezer and Rebbe Chacham had this machlekes about whether you say Raya legabe Avarim. Now we're having this machlekes legabe Dam. And Rabbi Yehuda again is saying that the machlekes is just about whether you can mix it with you can mix good dam with dam of a carbon with dam of a balmo. The Brisa over there, Rabbi Yehuda, who interpreting this says, Rabbi Elazar says you could be makar of it, dam that was mixed with the balmo, whether it was physically mixed together, whether it was just two kaisis, then you don't know which is the balmum and which is not. Nevertheless, you could be zayriket. He learns it out from a pasuk in the parsha of balmum that it says it's only also when it's a balmum, but not when it's mixed together, dam of balmum, not dam that's mixed with other things. They disagree with that drasha. So we're not bringing a raya one way or the other as far as our question of bila or yesh bila or ein bila. But the problem is this brisa that's explaining Rabbi Yehuda's version of the Mishnah says it's talking about bein b'bal bein b'kaisis. So l'chayra that would seem to indicate that the Mishnah that we have, which has a different version of this machlek, is also talking about not just by kaisis, which was Rava's way of avoiding the problem that it seems our Mishnah seems to say yesh bila. We said it's just talking about kaisis when it doesn't come to the question of bila. But in Rabbi Yehuda's version, he clearly said it's talking about even by kaisis. So Rabbi Yehuda ali Rabbi Elazar masni bein b'bala bein b'kaisis. He says no. Rabbi Yehuda, when in Rabbi Yehuda he says that Rabbi Eliezer would say whether it's bala bein b'kaisis. But the Rabbanon of our Mishnah, that would be only if you say Bakaisis. That means when we had to answer our Mishnah, as well as the Brisa that we had that was similar to our Mishnah, and we had the Rayas for Yesh Bila and Bila, those cases are talking about only Kaisis, but not Bila. And it's even though Rabbi Yehuda has a different version, our Mishnah and our Brisa, that's they're not going to be beholden to Rabbi Yehuda's explanation that it's talking about bein bebila bein b'kaisis. They'll say it's only kaisis. Okay. Amar Abaya. Abaya says about this machlokes. We had both in the Mishnah and in the Brisa that we said that Rebbe Elazar and the Chacham argue. If you have nitin lamaila that mixed with nitin lamata, you have dam that's supposed to be on top, let's say dam chatas, that got mixed with dam oila. Rabbi Eliezer says you zayrik it lamaila, and the Chacham say you can't be zayrik it. Rabbi Eliezer says you say royin, you zayrik it lamaila, and afterwards you zayrik it lamata. And the Chum say you can't be Zayrikat, you have to be Nishafach La'am. It gets poured out because they say you don't look at the extra, the improper dam, the dam that's not supposed to go Lamaila, you don't look at it as water, you look at it as dam that's being thrown in the wrong place, and therefore you can't do it. That which we said that the Chachamim disagree, that you cannot, they hold Nishafach La'ama, that's when you have the dam after you did the shchitas of the two karbanos, and they got mixed together. The cups, as Rabbi just said, the cups got mixed together. So the Chacham say you can't be zarik at Lamaila because you might be zarik the dam of the oil Lamaila. Avol seif chatas v'oila. What if you had dam of a chatas, but not the dam of after the shchita that was makabel dam, but you already had brought your chatas and you did the whole avodas adam. You did the shchita kabbalah halacha and zrika. You already zayrik the dam on top, and now all you have to do is be zayrik the rest. You have to take the rest of the dam and take the shirayim and pour them on the yisoid. So if you're talking about that dam that got mixed in with the tchilas oila, with the dam that needs to be zayrik of the oila, the call makam oila makam shirayim. Then it's not going to be a problem to be zayrik the dam lamata because they're both going in the same place. The shirayim have to go on the yisoid. The yisoid is the foundation of the base of the mizbeach. If you know, remember there was an amma thing sticking out, a foundation like that stuck out on the bottom amma of the mizbeach, and that's where the dam goes. So when you throw it against the wall of mizbeach, it lands ultimately on that yisoid. So there's no difference. You're throwing it anyway in the same place. You throw the dam oila on the bottom of mizbeach, and you throw the dam chatas, and it ends up on the bottom on the yisoid. If Yosef said b'shem Rav Yehuda, no, it's not. That's not going to work. It's either Chama also going to disagree about when we're talking about the shirayim of Yechatas, because those have to be on the top of that yisoid. It has to be on top of it. You cannot put it against the wall like the dam of the oila and let it drip down. It has to be put directly onto the yisoid, not that it goes against the wall and drips down onto the yisoid. Rav Shimon has so they chase the Rish Lakish. He says this is only the machlekes between the Chamer and Elazar is only tchilas chatas v'oila. If you have the dam that needs zrika of the chatas, but saif chatas, if you're talking about the shirayim that go on the yisoid v'oila divriyakol makom oila makom shirayim, then they'll both agree that it's all going to end up in the same place. So the dam shirayim of the chatas can be put together with the dam of the oila. And they disagree. He says no, that you need on the itztaba, like we said before. Masav Rav Huna bar Yehuda. Masav bar Yehuda. Rav Huna bar Yehuda asked on this this that was saying that it needs to be that you have to take the dam and pour it directly on top of the side. It's not enough to pour it to throw it against the wall and let it drip down. Kaideshem, the pasuk says that legabe bechar has to be brought as a carbon, and then it's eaten. The basar is eaten by the kain. The Torah says about a kaideshem. Shenisar. What do we darshan from kaideshem? What do we learn from that pasuk? Shem nisar v'dam kachim achim yikravu. That if it gets mixed with dam of another kachim, you could bring it. Zak Gemara. This is going according to the Rabbanan, that say, we don't say right. My love, Saif Oilo B'char. Are we not talking about where you have the Shirayim of Oilo? So what is the Chiddush? It's telling you if you have the Saif of an Oilo and a B'char, Makam Oilo, Makam Shirayim. L'chayr, it's telling us this Chiddush that we just said, that even though you have Shirayim mixed together with B'char, you could both throw them against the wall of Mizbeach, and then it comes down and it drips onto the mizbeach. It doesn't have to be directly on the yisod. So now, who said that it's telling you that chiddush? What it's telling you about is you have the actual dam of a oila that goes on the bottom and a bechar, and it's telling you that you can mix them together and throw them against the wall. They both go in the same place. There's no problem of royin. It doesn't make a difference. Zak Gemara, Omay Kamashmalan. What is it coming to tell you? if that's the case, that they both go in the same place, you shouldn't be allowed to mix them together and bring them as be zarek them against the mizbech. In the end, you're being zarek all the dam in the proper place. If it's talking about tchilas oila and a bechar, they both go against the wall. It's like, well, they ain't oilam mevatlan zeh. It's coming to tell you the chiddush. I might say that not even having two things that are both kosher and they both go to the same place, still one is going to be mevatel the other. You're going to say if you have more oila, then all you yaitza was the oila, and if you have more bechar, all you yaitza is the bechar. Correct, Gemara, we have two other sources for that proposition. You have two other psukim that tells you, in addition to Kaidashim. It says about the dam, there's at least, as we're going to see, it's a machlokes, but this man the Amr is saying that you have to take the dam of the par of Yom Kippur together with the dam of the Sar in Yom Kippur, and you throw them together, connected the Aron Kodesh. I'm sorry, connected the not the Aron Kodesh, connected the Mizbeach HaPnimi. So from the fact that you see you mix them together, and we don't say they become bottle, that tells you that in something that's oila, they ain't oila mevatel zeh. Two things that are kosher are not mevatel one another. There's two separate sources, and some learn from one and some learn from the other. The Gemara now going to bring a third explanation, and then at the end the Gemara is going to explain why each one of the reasons, the places that we learned that ein olam mevatel zeh didn't hold to the other one. The Torah says that the Bnei Aaron should bring the dam and be zarek the dam. It says two times dam. Why do we need dam two times? The reason why we need two dams is because I would have said when the Torah says you should be zarek the dam. And the Shita has it that Rashi says also or chulin and with or of another similar carbon. Sha'af mechayim tikarv, that even if they were mixed together not as dam, but they been mixed together as animals, we would say that since these things are both nikrav in the same way, you could just be kair, you could be makar them. The chulim, we say we sell it to somebody who needs to be makar for the same carbon, but essentially it ends up with the same thing. That you just bring all the carbonas and you say whoever it belongs to, they should get the schos of that carbon. So since you could be makar it like that, maybe you should. On that, I would say but those are the only ones that you could be also be ma'ar of the dam in the same place, and you don't say ein olam mevatel zeh. Minayin l'rabas taidu shlamim. How do we know if it got mixed with taidu shlamim? A taidu and shlamim have a different. They have a different. Those are kachim kachim. These are kachim kalim. They have different rules, and therefore they can't be nikrav together, like we said in the Mishnah. That we said you have to be yirach yistav. Ma'ani taidu shlamim shaboyin. So then we say, so okay, so you learn about taidu shlamim from the word dam. Those are both brought like an edava, like an oila, which is the basic case of it. Minan l'rabis is an asham. Dam is talking about an oila. Minan l'rabis is an asham. How do I know even to include an asham? An asham is brought for a chait. So in that sense, it's not like neder and edava and oila. Ma'abani is an asham, and even if I'll say include the asham, shaitan man dalid kamoisoi, that needs dalid, that has Shtaim Shem Arba, like an Oila, Becharu Maisu Pesach, that all need only one matan dam. Minayin, how am I going to know to include that as well? Dam. That's why we need a double lashon to include all these extra chedushim. I'm not exactly sure how you can learn. We have four different svaras why to include this and not that. I don't know how you. I guess if it says dam twice, it means to include everything. So now we finally get to a question. My love, Saif Oilo Bukhar. Is this not telling you that we're talking about the Saif Oilo Bukhar that they get brought together? Shma mina makom oila makom shirayim. So you see that the makom oila is the makom shirayim. Loi tchilas Oilo Bukhar. Talking about the beginning of the Oilo Bukhar. My kamash. And again, what's the chiddush? Dein oila mevatel zeh. So it's coming to tell you the din of oila mevatel zeh. So this is the third source for this proposition that if you have two things that are kosher to be brought in the same way, they're not mevatel. We first said from kodesh, then we said from the parvasar of Yom Kippur, and now we're saying from dam dam. So now the Gemara explains. Mivelach dama par midama sor nafka tanoi. The reason why the others didn't want to learn out from velach dama par dama sor because it's a machlekes tanoi. Mika the nafka lemehacha b'gavlehacha. I'm sorry. Now the Gemara asks a question. Velach dama par midama sor nafka. We already learned it out from velach dama par and dama sor, and the truth is we also had said before that you should learn it out from Kodeshim. Tanoi, Ikadam Lehacha, Vikadam Mehacha. Vahani Tanoi, Mivilocha Dama Par, Dama Sor, Loyal. So the other two Tanoim, the reason why they don't want to learn out from Dama Par and Dama Sor, Kasabri Eim Arvin Lekronis, they hold that you don't mix the Dam to throw it on the Kronis of the Mizbeach HaPnimi. They don't hold of this, that's what you do with the Dam of the Par and the Dama Sor. So it's not a raya about that you can be mevatel, that it doesn't come bottle if they're oil. We dam lo yalef, and the others don't learn from dam. But we learned the last lima that we just learned on the summit. Dam lo mashmalhu. They don't think that the fact that Torah said dam is not really an extra word. Torah says v'yetzalam ezvech hashavnei Hashem chibur lo b'lochim midam apar midam asoyer. What is it's going to say milachach hapar v'asoyer? You have to say what you're taking. So you have to say midam apar, midam asor. Otherwise, you're not going to know what you're talking about. So you take the dam together with the sor. You have to say it. Ella mikoydeshem, my time alfi. What about the first limit that we had said from koydeshem? Kasavi koydeshem, hein krivim ve'ein trumasan kraver. That's going to tell you a different din. Koydeshem is coming to tell you that by a bechar, only the bechar is carved, but you can't bring a tmura of the bechar. Other karbanis, when you say, I want to exchange this carbon with a different carbon, with a different animal, they both become kaddish and they're both brought as that same carbon. But on a tmuras bechar, you don't do so. It's not nikra. The idach, the other one, where does he learn out this din of the tmura of a bechar? It's not brought. Mim sharim sel hashemhu. Who karve trumasa kreva? The Torah says, Im sharim sel hashemhu. Just this can be brought, only the Bechar is brought, but not, it's Tmura, so therefore he still has the pasuk of Chodeshem to tell you, Ein Olam Avat L'Noy. Toshma, Nasan L'Mayla V'Lei Nimlach. I'm going to try to bring another raya on this question of whether you can do the Shirayim on the side of his Mizbeach, or it has to be on top of the side. Nasan L'Mayla, if you went ahead, we had this in the Brisa before. If the Kohen had a mixture of dam of dam chatas dam oila, that dam chatas is supposed to be lamaila, dam oila is supposed to be lamata, and he neglected to ask what to do, and he brought it lamaila. Elu moedim, they both agree. The Chum also agrees. Sheyachsav yit lamata. You should go and bring it lamata. We had explained before that it's talking about where he's bringing the shirayim. Elu ve'elu oilin, my love, the Arab chatas va'oila, is it not talking about where you mix together the dam chatas and dam oila? V'kiv the yav leila maila, havelu shirayim. At this point, the chacham hold, we don't say royal. So you can only put in the correct place. But all the dam that's left from the chatas is all shirayim. The dam of the oila was supposed to be in the first place on bottom. So it's all going to the bottom. Some of it is shirayim and some of it is chatas. Some of it, I'm sorry, is an oila. Everyone agrees. So you see that you can put the dam of the shirayim in the same place as the oila on the side of the mizbeach. It doesn't have to go directly on this side. So the lashon of this Gemara is very meshubash. So it's missing. It says we're talking about with the dam of a chatas chitzayna became mixed up with the shirayim of a chatas pnimis, and therefore when you're going now and being zayrik, when it says that you do it lamata, it means both of them go on top of the Yesod. They're both Shirayim. So we're not talking about mixing with a oila that goes on bottom. We're talking about a chatas chitzayin, a chatas pnimis, and we're talking about a shirayim, and therefore you have the shirayim of the chatas chitzayin together with the shirayim of the chatas pnimis. It all goes directly on the yisod. Amalei abayla v'neim mark in the arch b'shirayim. Why do you have to say that it's talking about you got mixed up the dam? You zayrik the dam of your zayrik at lamaila, and now you have shirayim from that chatas chitzayna together with the shirayim of a chatas pnima. Why don't you just say it's talking about two separate chatas chitzayna that got mixed together? What that was saying that you could do it because it's still it's still two shirayims. So what do you have to tell me? I feel shirayim akvin chasru. It's coming to tell you, even according to the Manda Amar, who says that you need that even though normally shirayim are not ma'akev, the shirayim of a chatas pnimi is ma'akev. So even so, chasru ma'akev, even though you were zayrik part of it on top. So maybe you're missing part of those shirayim of the pnimin, but even though it's missing a little bit of it, the din is just that you have to do some shirayim on the side. As long as you did some, it's gonna be yaitze yedin of yechiv of doing shirayim on the chatayis pnimis. Amalei Rav Tusfa l'Ravina. Hakim nahu berubel yoinim. But we already went through the analysis back on the Peyamid base, and we said it's talking about because we had said that it's talking about where he was zayrik first lamaila, and was talking about where most of the dam was dam el yonim, and we said it's talking about even according to because we were trying to explain it according to the Rav Ashi's explanation that he holds Rebbe Eliezer's reason is he holds ein bila. So then we had to understand how could he be sure that there's enough on top. So he said it's talking about where he brought on the top more than the amount of the dam that would go on bottom, a little bit more than that. So therefore, when he brings on top a little bit more, he knows that he did some of the dam from the lamayla. So it's not talking, according to this, it's not talking about shirayim. Malay hani milamanda amru mi kara ein bila. Maskanas because completely. He said no. That we said that it's talking about Yavli Lamayla Shir Tachtoinim Va'oid. That was only when we were trying to explain the Mishnah before we came up with Rav's pshat that the whole Mishnah is talking about kaisis and it doesn't discuss with the din of bila at all. But in the end, we said kaisis, so we don't have to say it's Tachtoinim Va'oid. So therefore, it could be talking like we said. It's all shirayim. Okay, we'll stop over here. Yasher Koyach. And I will see you on Matzah Shabbos.
Yeah, have a good Shabbos.
Have a good Shabbos.